I love the part that pies and puds play in our food heritage. Many of them are based on centuries-old traditional recipes, and Sussex pond pudding is the most ancient of puddings. So I decided to roll back the years. But what is a pond pudding? I've come to the historic Mitchelham Priory in the heart of Sussex to meet archaeologist Dr. Alex Langlands, who I hope can help me get to the bottom of this curiously named dish. You're a Sussex boy, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. I grew up on the other side of the marsh here, and as an archaeologist and historian, I'm always interested in Sussex life, Sussex archaeology, and Sussex food as well.
It's specifically about the pond pudding.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you know about it?
Well, I mean, I've always heard it talked about when I was a kid, and it's always conjured up ideas of sort of sludgy water, you know, pond water, and something that's not particularly tasty. But having raked around amongst a few recipes, it's got a very basic structure. A big ball of butter is encased in a suet crust pastry. And the name, we think, comes from the idea that you cut this pudding open and it's then surrounded by this pond of melted butter.
The original medieval ingredients of butter and suet still remain, but over the years the recipe has evolved.
Well, here we go, Paul. Medieval kitchen.
Dr. Alex has got some ingredients, and I think I know what's in store. I'm beginning to feel the reason why I'm here. I'm going to be making some pastry.
You're going to be making some pastry, Paul, yeah?
Right. Alex has rummaged through the history books for 3 recipes. One from the medieval times, another from the 18th century, and one dating from post-war rationing in the early 1950s. One of the most important ingredients in all 3 recipes is suet.
This is a fat from cow, and it's a fat that comes from around the inner organs, so it's very high in saturated fats. So it's the kind of food that really you and I should avoid today. But of course, to the medieval worker who spent all his life out in the fields in all sorts of weather, you need this kind of calorific intake just to last a day.
The medieval pudding is made from a suet dough, wrapped around a lump of butter. That's a lot of butter to go inside something which is so ancient. I mean, it's full of fat, really, isn't it?
In some ways, this is the one I'm most interested in, because this is going to give us the taste of authentic medieval Sussex.
Absolutely.
That's great to see it coming together.
The dough is wrapped in muslin covered in flour, which seals the cloth and stops the fat escaping into the water.
I'm going to dangle it in the pot. So I then pull all of these together.
We've got that tied off, sealed off.
Yep.
That whole thing then goes into the water.
Simple as that.
And then it's boiled.
Simple as that, yep.
OK. By the 18th century, the Georgians were importing exotic new flavours from abroad. So their recipe for a pond pudding adds dried fruit and spices such as nutmeg, not to mention a truckload of butter. One 18th century pond pudding. You see, it's akin to a spotted dick. Next up is the 1950s version. This recipe uses a whole lemon in the middle. Flavoured with brown sugar and a pinch of cinnamon.
A connoisseur's touch.
Yes. With our 3 puddings wrapped and ready to go, it's time to get cooking. Back in medieval times, they didn't have ovens, so Alex has recreated a medieval stove on the lawn of Mitchelham Priory. Don't worry, he did ask first. All 3 of our pond puddings go into the pot together. The plunge?
The plunge. Leave the string out there. On it goes.
And after 2 hours, our puddings are ready.
All right, so still bubbling there, but nice low heat.
They look really sort of dirty because they're sitting in like a butter bath. To be honest, I'm really nervous. Normally I'll eat anything. I'm a bit nervous about this.
But they're not looking too bad.
No.
OK, so this is our medieval.
This is the one I'm really looking forward to. It looks like a dumpling. Throw it straight in there, peel off the muslin, take the top off, and it should create a pond. Time for the moment of truth. Will our medieval pudding make a pond?
OK.
There you go.
Right.
Oh, hang on. It's butter that's soaked into the dough.
I think our pond has run dry, though, Paul. Go on, give it a try, then. Go on.
thing is, it doesn't actually taste too bad.
No.
I'm saying that to my head. But actually, it actually doesn't taste too bad. You know what? You know, that's medieval. That's 11th century pudding. And it's not too bad.
It's not too bad.
I mean, it's bad, but it's not too bad. Next, the 18th century pudding with the dried fruits and spices. Now that looks more like a pudding, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And again, not a drop of ponding butter in sight. No, that's better.
It's better, yeah?
Yeah, it's like a Christmas pudding.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. And finally, the 1950s lemon and cinnamon version. I'm going to try and cut it right down the middle.
Yeah. Take it away. Well.
It's like the medieval one, but with lemon.
Okay.
So, I think we've taken a step back. So there we have it, 3 Sussex pond puddings from 3 different centuries. But the common theme, a distinct lack of, well, pond. I wonder if I can do any better myself. For my recipe, I'm bringing pond pudding bang up to date with flavours that would have knocked the socks off those medieval serfs. It's my chocolate, orange and hopefully ponding pond pudding. Hi Alex, welcome to the kitchen. I had a great time making that pond pudding, which wasn't so much of a pond, but we decided it could have been something else.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, having gone back to the historical sources, in fact, one of the earliest recipes, which is 1672, refers to a pudding being cut open and there being a pound of butter in there, and not a pond of butter. So I think we've done a bit of revision there.
Well done, Alex.
And we're rewriting the culinary history of Sussex.
Easy as that, really. Now, what I'm going to make is a chocolate and orange version of pond pudding. I'm making a sweet suet pastry by adding the zest of 1 orange to some self-raising flour. Then, throw in some cocoa powder, caster sugar, and lastly, some finely grated suet. Mix the ingredients together by hand, then pour in a little milk to bring it all together. At this stage, I just want to see how much of that flour this liquid's going to pick up. So I'm going to get my hands in there now. Don't be afraid to get your hands in there, because at the end of the day, you remember when you're mixing pastries and doughs what it should feel like. That is perfect. Once the dough has come together, turn it out onto a lightly floured board and work it a little to build up the gluten. It's coming together nicely. Now I need to put a little bit of dough to one side for the lid. That will probably be enough. Pop that down there. Now I've got a dish which I've buttered. I'm not using the muslin.
No, fully up to date, this version.
Now, what I want to do is line this bowl now with this beautiful suet chocolate pastry. Now, do you think, is it quite uncommon for that to happen, a sort of change in language throughout the years? Is it a bit like Chinese whispers, or just the way our language has been formed?
No, very much so. I mean, I think in this case, you've got 2 words that sound and look very similar. And, of course, in the 16th, 17th centuries, you could spell things in a number of ways. I think Shakespeare spelt his own name about 17 different ways. So, what happens is you get these different spellings of things, and then when people go back to the original document, they think it means something else. And that's exactly what I think has happened with the Sussex pond or pound pudding, is that someone's gone back to it. The pound has been abbreviated to pond, and they've just taken that as read and built their own interpretation from it. I
think you're right. The Old English, I mean, you see the Old English now, is it the F that's the S, or the S
F
that's the F?
and S, yeah, and the th is a different character entirely. When you look at ye olde, actually the Y in ye is actually a th sound. It's called a thorn.
Right.
But of course we say ye now because it looks like a Y. So we've got all of these changes over time, and as you say, sort of like Chinese whispers, the meaning changes as well.
Yeah. Now what I've got here, I've got my dish which has been lined with that beautiful pastry. Now what I need to do is get the filling in there. Now I've got butter here.
Now that's good to see. Butter's important for me. You're messing with a Sussex tradition here, and I think the thing that's keeping it real for Sussex is the butter. And I read actually in the diary of a Georgian shopkeeper, he said he ate a pudding which had so much butter in it you could have drowned a pig in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you need a lot of butter.
Right, I've got a load of butter in there. I've put some brown sugar in there as well. I've got orange, which I'm going to stab to release all those flavours of the orange in there.
Yeah.
I love oranges.
And so this is where you think your pond is going to come from, do you think?
This and the fact of the melting butter and the sugar, which is going to turn almost like a toffee.
Yeah, lovely.
Now that goes in there, right in the middle.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put the rest of the butter around there as well.
Wow.
Then the sugar on top of that. So it's not really enriched at all, really. And then I've got some chocolate, which is going to get thrown in there, and that's all going to melt together.
Yeah.
Now I've got the lid here. I'm just going to push that onto the top and then allow the rest of it just to fold over onto the top like that. And there you have it. That's our basic pond pudding. Pop the paper over the top, fold it down the side. Happy with that. Now get a load of string. When steaming puddings, make sure you put a sheet of greaseproof paper underneath the foil to prevent it from sticking. So what I've done is just tied it round, and I'm just making a little carrier on the top. And as if by magic, here's one I made earlier. There we have it. So now I'm going to cut off the string, take away the lid. That smells amazing. Chocolate, orange, the whole thing going on. That is going to be something special.
I do wonder what the medieval peasant farmer would be doing at this moment if you'd revealed this pudding to him.
Probably having a coronary, thinking, what on earth is that? Now, here we go. Plate. That, I felt like it just dropped straight out. It's hot. Right, I'm going to try and take this off. Right, it's coming off.
OK, here we go.
That looks like an ancient pudding straight away. But do you think this will pond?
It looks the part, it really does. And if it ponds, all the better.
Drum roll, please. That is a chocolate and orange pond pudding. We're going to have to wait a little bit longer to try it.
That smells delicious, though.
There you have it, a Hollywood adaptation of a medieval classic. My indulgent chocolate orange pond pudding, complete with a fruity, oozy core. Sussex, this one's for you.